Good afternoon, students who are here already. My name is Mr. Antoine. I'm sitting in for Mr. Robin Clark today. I'm just waiting for other students to show up before we begin. Apologies again for the late start. Had some issues with Zoom. As you can see, I've had to sign in as Mr. Clark just to make it work. But I'll tell you more about that when the others join us.
Good evening.
Just so we speed things along, if you know anybody else who should be here, can you just text, WhatsApp, call, and whatever else form of communication, just to tell them that we are ready and waiting, please. All right, for persons who are just coming in, good evening.
All right,
Uh,
Norty, I'm in. Okay, I found that because I'm the communications person, I know how to go around the system and get in. Okay.
all right, so you are in. That's great.
Yeah.
We have only about no 9 students here, so I'm giving it another 3 minutes, and then I'm going to begin.
Yes, please do. So evening, everybody. This my let me say former colleague. Former colleague. We have been teaching academic writing since, well, I think over a decade now. Well, you probably have been teaching it longer, Naughty, but I know that we have been teaching this, what? I know it's over a decade between you and I have worked together. Am I correct?
Right.
Yeah, over a decade, because it's from Dr. Carmenita Jones days. So Norty is a former colleague. We both came out of the high school system, I think, transitioned from the high school system to the tertiary level, teaching academic writing to US students. He's very capable, very competent. He's also a PhD candidate. You're a candidate now, right?
I don't. Yeah, we can pass that on.
Yes, so he's also a PhD candidate, and he's actually doing his research, something relating to academic writing in some way, shape, or form. So he's very capable and very competent. So I've asked him to come in and share his knowledge with you guys. You know, it's always good to hear another perspective as it relates to academic writing. You might hear some things that are similar to what I've said, and you will hear things that are new. And at the end, when he has finished his lecture, I'm asking you guys to just share what you have so far so that he can also give you some pointers about how best to improve your sentence outline. Okay, over to you, sir, Mr. Norty Antoine.
All right. Good evening again, students. Welcome. I want to do things in a kind of workshop setting, so I'm not going to do a traditional PowerPoint. I'm actually going to share screen, and we are going to use the good old-fashioned Microsoft Word. I want to just establish a few rules for our interaction today. These rules are just to ensure that the communication is smooth, and we actually use the time wisely and effectively. I see that this session is being recorded, so I assume you have access to that. I am going to take it really slowly, and I want you to feel free that if there's something that you miss, you can ask me the relevant questions. What I will do in terms of the rules, there is a raise your hand icon somewhere there on Zoom. You can just use that icon if indeed you need to ask a question or say something, but you can also just hold off on the questions, but I'm going to strongly encourage you to write them down. I am not opposed to questions at all. Because I've not been teaching you, evidently there are some things that I've assumed and some things I've heard from Mr. Clark. So if I say anything to lose you at any point, you can of course let me know that as well. Because I'm a teacher at heart, I will insist that we also try our very best to practice the use of the standard English, because I strongly believe that the use of it in speech will strengthen the use of the language in writing as well. And the next rule, of course, is to respect each other. I want to make this a friendly space, and I want to make it an environment where we are conversing rather than I'm just instructing. So the task is mine today to have you understand the essay outline. In courses like these, it is particularly called the sentence outline specifically, because if you do a simple Google, you'll see a lot of essay outlines with just individual words. But what you are expected to produce is a sentence outline. I apologize in advance that you really can't see a full picture of me, and I'm not in the frame of looks at the moment. I'm rocking the COVID beard, so you probably can't see me well. There's just a little tiny picture there. Maybe closer to the end when I get a feel if you are nice people, I'll turn my camera on, but apologies in advance for that. All right, so from what I understand, you are doing expository essay writing, and the general gist of expository writing is really to inform, to educate, to state facts. Students are normally confused about when in the expository writing process do they get a chance to say, their own views. And before I even jump into the essay outline, I want to reassure you that it's not about you not having a chance to say your own views, but your own views should be linked to what is established through sources, through research, through references. All right. So your views should be stated in line with what research says in relation to your topic. Later on, after I've completed the outline thing here, I'm going to ask you, what are some of your topics? And if you are so willing, I'll probably have a few persons share their topics as well, just to ensure that you're on the right track. So one of the basic things that everybody knows is that an essay has 3 parts. That's old school, high school, primary school knowledge, right? 3 parts: an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. I like to say to my students at the tertiary level, that knowledge is kind of old, because at the tertiary level, the essay has 4 parts. You have the introduction, the body, the conclusion, and the references. And that is very important because the references at the tertiary level represent your attempt to consolidate, pull together knowledge that was existing before you and to respect it, but also knowledge that has changed. To simplify that, we normally use a metaphor in the writing courses with students to suggest that when you enter the tertiary level, it's like you are going into a barber shop or a hairdressing parlor for the ladies. And when you enter this parlor, a conversation is going on already. And if you're a true Jamaican, these conversations are normally heated and exciting. And so that would be like your first year, right? And when you go into this shop or parlor, you're usually invited to join the conversation. Somebody will at times deliberately say to you, so what do you think about this? What do you think about this? You know, and invite you into the conversation. And so you enter the conversation, you may oppose something, you may agree with something, right? And you eventually will have to leave. When you leave, the conversation will go on and somebody else will come into the shop or the parlor after you and may join the conversation as well. So we use that metaphor to represent the tertiary level. I'm saying all of that to say, when you get to the essay writing process, we expect you not to just give your opinions in this kind of writing. Expository writing, you are expected to give the facts, and these facts are supported by research. How the essay outline comes into that now is that the essay outline is a skeleton of what the essay should be. So you are doing process writing. Process writing is different from high school writing because we're not just expecting you to go hide in the dark, produce an essay, and then submit it for grading. We want to take you through the steps for more than one reason. We want when you leave these courses, you know what to do when you're by yourself. And you will have learned that writing is not just a one-shot, one-kill thing. I like to tell my students so that even in the real world, for the movies that you watch, for the books that you like to read, the newspapers, nobody sits and write these things once. They are written and redrafted and revised, and they are sent to a number of persons, right? But for many of us, you know, we came to the high school system, we learned about the product, the final thing that will get the grade. The S outline fits into that process because it gives you an opportunity to preempt, to envision, to assume in a very safe way what the essay will look like long before you actually do the essay. I will also admit to you, though, that it is a difficult process because people have different ways of learning. And so if you've ever been in an exam, for example, where you have to write an essay, some of us, myself included, all you need to do is just jot down the 3 points or 2 points you will write about in the essay. And then when you finish one point, you look up, you glimpse that one or you mark it out, you move to the next one. The essay outline I'm about to explain to you, however, it gives you a lot of details so that when it's time to put the actual essay together, all you're doing is, it's like tracing lines on a paper. You're just connecting the dots. All right, and that's why we like to call it a sentence outline. Just like the essay, the sentence outline has the following parts: the introduction, the body, and the references. I left out the conclusion this time because usually we don't ask you to outline the conclusion. I'm going to explain why when I get there. But I'm going to work with the assumption, however, that you are doing a similar thing where I don't need to tell you to outline the conclusion. I will, however, tell you how to write one, right, as additional information to what you already know. All right, I've said quite a lot. Teacher issues, we tend to give a lot of preamble. So I'm going to pause quickly just to give you a chance. So far, is there anything I've said so far that you are not you're not understanding? Anything you'd like me to repeat? I'm going now into the outline specifically. Are you clear so far? You can respond in the chat. You can respond with your microphone. Are you clear?
Clear so far.
All right.
Yes, so far.
All right, good stuff. So the essay outline has, as I said, 3 main parts: the introduction, the body paragraphs, and the reference page, right? And you are also using the APA, right? Give me a quick response for that. Using the APA, 7th edition?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, good stuff. So we're on the same page. So let's go to the introduction. Now, it's one of my favorite things to teach because I learned it late in life, how to really break it down and to write it. Many of us were taught that the introduction should have this funnel shape. You start with a general statement and you get to a more narrow thing and then you say a specific thing. and it has a thesis statement. Those are the three parts of an introduction for your expository essay. So, all right, this thing is saying my connection is unstable, right? Let's hope that doesn't affect us. I'm going to go through now and explain what you should do for all three sections of the introduction. And because you're online, I'm going to just ask you to respond to things at different points just to make sure the internet is not messing up our communication. Are you still hearing me?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm now at part one of the introduction, the attention grabber or the opening statement. So as the name suggests, the attention grabber opening statement is the very first thing that you say in your essay. And there are a number of techniques to grab your reader's attention. The things I have there in red are the different techniques, and I'm going to list them and then I'm going to explain each one for you. So we normally recommend that you use one of these, but there are students who are skilled enough to use more than one, like a combination thing. And I'm going to provide you with some examples shortly. So you can use statistics. And I love to say precisely statistics from credible sources, not just statistics. As Jamaicans, we have a way of just flinging numbers out into the open from nowhere, right? So we don't want that at the tertiary level. So the statistics, the numbers that you give to represent some aspect of your topic, they must come from some kind of research. They must come from someone who has studied this thing. So you're writing an essay about juvenile delinquency or violence in the community. You can't just write in your essay, every day 6 persons are killed. You didn't go around counting. So you need to go find an article, maybe from Statistical Institute of Jamaica or from some news report, or and we don't really love news reports, or from the JDF or the JCF, right, to get some actual accurate statistics. So that's what it means when we say it must come from a credible source. The statistics must also be relevant and current, right? As close to the now as possible. So statistics from 10 years ago and 20 years ago may not be the same today, right? And I'm not the best at mathematics, but I'm going to throw out a little bit of math for you just to teach you something quickly about statistics. When you're giving statistics, we prefer if you avoid giving percentages, because percentages can be misleading. Percentages can be misleading. So if I ask you, and I actually want you to respond, 6 out of 10 would be what percent?
60.
And if I say 60 out of 100, what percent would that be? 60 out of 100.
Same 60.
600 out of 1,000. 600 out of 1,000.
60.
Right. So if you read something now, or you hear one of our ministers on television or on the radio say 60% of Jamaicans are infected, you know, normally those things are misleading, or based on a survey, 60% of Jamaicans said that they do not want to return to a lockdown. We don't know how many persons
We
they
don't
actually
know the
surveyed.
amount of persons in the nation.
Right? Yeah, we don't know the number of persons. So be very careful with statistics. Similarly, we won't know if you put that in your essay. So we prefer if you use the raw figures. All right, we prefer if you use the raw figures. If you, however, must use percentages, you must qualify the percentage. So if you say 60% of persons surveyed, you want to also tell us that the survey was conducted with 10 persons or 100 persons. All right, but on first choice, you don't want to use the percentages. So use statistics from a credible source. Second option is a definition from a credible source. And if you notice, I'm still saying credible source. Now, definitions, we don't want the high school style. At the tertiary level, you do not want to offend your lecturers or the markers' intelligence. Sounds very simple. But here's a fun way of thinking about it. You're writing about land pollution, right, in Jamaica. Just making this up. You don't go off into defining land. and then pollution. And it sounds simple to you, but a lot of students have done this, right? They break the phrase land pollution and they define land and they define pollution, especially if they used to do debating in high school. They have this natural thing to just define individual words, so you do not define simple terms. Terms that are popular, terms that are well known, you don't define them. What you do is you contextualize them. So let me give you a quick example of that. If you're writing about the same land pollution in Jamaica, we want you to qualify. Tell us what land pollution represents. So I'm currently situated in Montego Bay, and I'm going to pretend I'm writing an essay about land pollution in Montego Bay. What I would want to do at the beginning of my essay is to qualify or contextualize what land pollution is. When my readers see this term throughout the essay, what do I want them to remember that it stands for? So I will say something like the debris, the pieces of cardboard, plastic bags, single-use plastic items, newspapers, and rotting cars that are parading along St. James Street and Barnett Street represent land pollution in the city. So that I've made it specific for my audience what exactly I'm writing about. Another way to do that is that you can start with the generic definition from a source like a dictionary or a textbook or an official website. So maybe I would go on the solid waste management website because that speaks to pollution. I take the general definition from there, then I'll add the contextualization. So in case I've lost you, I'm going to repeat. You can choose to contextualize a term, right? Meaning you give a specific interpretation. What does it look like in the place that you're talking about? So if you're going to use a fancy term like corporal punishment, you want to define what exactly it means for the children, the physical abuse and the slapping and battering or whatnot. So you can start that process by giving the generic definition, then you make it specific to the context, aka the place, country, situation that you are writing about in your essay. Option 3 is the anecdote. An anecdote is a short story which is usually true, and it represents a phenomena or the issue that you are going to write about. When we say short, it really has to be short. I like to even give my students, I know, maybe 3 sentences. So let's say you're writing about bullying in schools. It can be something like, Annie was a popular girl in high school. She was always at the top of her class. However, her classmates disliked her because of her high performance. They arranged for Annie to be physically assaulted after school so that she could be intimidated to, desist from performing at a high standard. That's the end of the story, You follow that up now with a kind of analysis where you say Annie's experience represents the typical experience of many children who are usually bullied in school or something. So it has to be a short scenario that really captures the hearts and minds of the audience. And you're not, and maybe I shouldn't have said capture the hearts and minds. I don't want you to think you're going into pity appeal. But there are many stories representing the issues that we come to write about. One of my favorite ways to explain anecdotes, I don't know if we may be in the same age range at all, but there used to be a program called Crime Stop, where the gentleman would come on TV first, with a very disheartening background music, and he would start by telling you the story of somebody who was, violently attacked, usually murdered in a place. And then he goes off into the actual appeal of, asking people to give information and to protect the communities, etc. So anecdotes are like that, where they start with a short story, a scenario is usually true, and then you branch off now into why it represents the wider issue. The rhetorical question is further down on the list because honestly, everybody uses it. And notice I deliberately said rhetorical question, single question, because students have a way of going off into several questions. Students, the more questions you write in an essay represents the more ideas that are unresolved. And in an expository essay, we want stated facts. We don't want to be left thinking about anything. So, warning, do not turn the topic into a question. It is boring, it is childish, it is lazy. It is not attention grabbing. So right at the top of your essay, you have the topic, causes of land pollution in Jamaica. And then the first thing, what are the causes of land pollution? That is childish. Even the tone of it is childish. So don't turn your topic into a question. When I say a rhetorical question, this is your chance, the one time you can really get into the hearts and minds of your readers. You're going to ask a question that gets them to see themselves as a part of the issue or a part of the solution, if it's a problem solution issue. So I'm going to just work with my land pollution topic. So if I were to write about land pollution in Montego Bay, I would probably start with something like, and I'm making this up now. Have you seen the size of the rodents parading along the streets of Montego Bay recently? And so I'm asking the question in such a way that begin to question yourself, or I would say something like, are you worried about the many diseases you can contract from simply walking along the polluted streets of Montego Bay? So this is one time in the essay you get to break the formality of the exposition and really speak to the audience. You don't carry that tone throughout the essay, right? So you leave them with that kind of hanging thought, then you get into the facts right after. So ask a question that gets the readers to see themselves as a part of the issue, right? Either being affected by it or working to solve it. So it can be a question that speaks to something positive too. Do you remember when Montego Bay was once the favorite place for foreigners to visit? It could be something like that. The next thing I have is a startling fact. A startling fact. A startling fact is along the lines of those things we like to call the did you know that? It is something which is usually factually based or research based, but majority of persons do not know or they do not pay attention to it. So here are a few startling facts that I know that you probably don't. When you look at the world population, I'm not giving you this as an attention grabber, I'm just giving an example of a startling fact. When you look at the world's population, the 7 billion plus people, nature has done this amazing thing where we basically have the same number of males and females. We're about equal in terms of the ratio, right? The irony is, of course, we know that this is a global population. When you come to different countries, it's a little different. And if you think about how many men are in prison versus, wherever else men are, then we have an issue. But the world's population actually has men and women. They are essentially an equal number of men and women in the world. Another fun fact to think about is that Jamaica is the first country to export banana in the Western Hemisphere. Another startling fact for you, if you're into economics and money management, is that there was a time in the 1970s when the Jamaican dollar was actually worth more than the British pound, the pound sterling. So how did we get here, where we're now struggling in terms of our currency, right? So those are examples of startling facts. And I could go on and on because I find some of them fun to know in real life. Right. Another one I learned recently from a lecturer, a professor at the university, was doing a lecture on gendered violence. And he presented that when you see a male becomes involved in violence, it's usually because of the bad relationship with his mother rather than the absence of his father. Many of us grew up learning that, most of our violent men are violent because their fathers are not present. This professor presented research to show that it's actually because of the relationship with their mother. And then the opposite is true for girls. The girls who we call bad girls, when they grow up, they do all of the rude things. They usually become this type of women because of the negative relationship with their father. So, that's a startling fact there. Another one I'm straying a little bit is that if you go to a tertiary institution, you have 8 times right? You have 8 times less a chance of being a victim of crime in Jamaica, right? So there are some fun facts out there. So maybe you can find a startling fact related to your topic, okay? Another type of attention grabber is a detailed description of the context, And for this one, you can do like a comparison contrast thing. So I'm going to stick with my topic. Doing something like land pollution in Jamaica or in Montego Bay, I would probably give a little description of what Montego Bay was like before it became polluted. And then I'd give a contrasting image of what it looks like now that it has been polluted. So I'd probably say Montego Bay was once the favorite destination for tourists, but now it is, let me be cliche and say, an eyesore, right? The high levels of garbage and pollutants matched by the low numbers of tourists traversing the streets represent the fact that Montego Bay is now a dumpland, right? Something like that, just to, give my audience a nice punch and to let them realize that this issue is actually quite serious. The final suggestion I'll make is a quote from a credible source. No offense to my Christian students who are here. Stop putting Bible verses at the beginning of your essays. The teachers are not getting scared and we're not thinking, oh Lord, this is a Christian, let me give her an extra mark. Stop putting song lyrics as well. All right? We don't want the random song lyrics. Okay? Now, this is a warning, and this is what I want you to write down, word for word. Regardless of whichever one of the types of attention grabber you choose, you must analyze the grabber. You must analyze the grabber. What that means is, once you use one of these things in red, go ahead and comment on it. Connect it to what is coming up in the rest of the introduction. You give statistics. What is it that the numbers represent? You gave a definition. Give me some examples of this thing that you have defined. You gave me an anecdote. What is it that the anecdote is showing about the issue, about the situation, about people who are affected by it? You gave me a startling fact. So what? Too often, the students will give an attention grabber and just move on as if they didn't say anything. All right, so always analyze the grabber, and that means make a comment on whatever the grabber is saying. All right, quick pause again. Any questions about the attention grabber? I'm about to move on now to the background or transition section. Questions about the attention grabber quickly? Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, let me get about 2 more responses. Are you clear on the attention grabber section?
Yes, sir, very clear.
All right, so now we're at the background or the transition. Background or the transition is basically the middle section of the introduction. And this is where you begin to answer some of the WH words, the when, the where, the who, the what. Warning for this section, do not begin to discuss anything that you are going to discuss in the body. Do not begin to discuss anything that you would put in the body in this section. This is a section now where you provide additional evidence to say, where did this issue come from? And who are some of the persons who have tried to address it? What have they done so far? And what have been the results of what they've done? So if I'm talking about land pollution here in the background or transition section, I begin to give some examples of where it started, right? So if I'm looking at the effects now, I want to look at the causes in the background. Let me repeat that. If my essay is about to discuss the effects, the outcomes of the land pollution in the body, when I get to the background here, I want to start to tell my audience, how did we even get to land pollution in the first place? Right? I want to mention what the Solid Waste Management Authority has been doing, and the government, specifically the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Tourism, because, Montego is a tourist destination and whatnot. What have they been doing? Solid Waste Management Authority and those persons, right? So we put that in the background. The background is also where you justify the thesis. You justify the thesis. You give the audience enough information for them to understand why the things you're about to put in the thesis are relevant. Let me say that again. In the background, this is where you begin to tell the audience why the things you have in the thesis are important to note, to learn, to understand. All right. I've noticed that every time I explain the introduction to students, some students learn something that I actually don't say explicitly. So let me just clarify it quickly. You are not to put the attention grabber in one single sentence, the background in one single sentence. I did not say that at all. The entire introduction we generally practice, you should have the introduction no longer than half a page, and that's double spaced, the entire introduction. So even, and I know some persons usually are thinking it, but they may not ask. I cannot tell you how many sentences you should restrict the background or the attention grabber to. The one section I can tell you that you should restrict is the thesis. And that's where I'm going now, the thesis. The thesis is actually the most important sentence in the entire essay. Yep, the most important sentence in the entire essay. Let me tell you a secret, and I'll go on record to say this. If your introduction is foolishness, if the attention grabber and the background is crazy, it's confusing, but your thesis is solid, it's clear, right? Then everything else is a go. We can work with that. You can still get an A. I'm telling you that. I'm exaggerating it that much, because the thesis is the one sentence which tells the reader what you are going to specifically discuss in the entirety of the essay. So I'm just going to pretend again like it hasn't been taught, and I'm just going to run through the thesis thing quickly. So what if you're taking notes so far, what I'd want you to write about the thesis, it's the one sentence. Yes, one sentence thesis is best. One sentence which dictates what you will write about in the entire essay. All right. So for the expository essay, the thesis should have a few features. I didn't have those, so I'm going to type them quickly. A thesis usually has the context. It normally has the issue. It should have a population. And usually we ask that it contains subpoints. All right. Context, issue, the population, the subpoints. So you can just jot those down quickly, please. Now, we like to suggest the subpoints because the subpoints give you greater precision, and they allow you to organize your ideas better. If you've ever been in an exam and you just don't know when to end the essay, it's because your thesis is not correctly formatted, because you know that you have ended an essay when you have completed the discussion of the final subpoint. So how do you arrive at a thesis statement? All right, I'm going to do a little exercise with you now to get you to that. Again, remember, I'm just assuming things here. If you're at the essay outline, you should have a thesis already, but I'm going to cover it again in case some persons may have missed it. So I'm going to work with this made-up topic. Broad topic is pollution. My narrowed topic is causes of land pollution in Jamaica. Right? That's what I'm working with. So we normally suggest that you do this to arrive at a thesis. You turn the topic into a question. If it isn't already a question, right? Turn it into a question. So my question would be, what are the causes of land pollution in Jamaica, right? And what this process does is that it really puts your brain through a narrowing activity, and it gets you to precise ideas. So pretend that you did not see what I had there as a thesis. What are the causes of land pollution? Then we say, and usually you can do this in pairs or in a group. It really works better in a pair and a group. You can answer the question in a very general way using words like many or several. So I will say there are several causes of land pollution in Jamaica. Right? And remember, you can use several, you can use many, you can use, well, I hate a lot because it's so informal and popular and overused. But turn the topic into a question, then you answer the question. You're going to answer the question twice. For the second time you are answering the question, use specific responses. So this is where the actual thinking begins. And remember I mentioned the references earlier as being equally important in terms of the essay. Now, you should have done some reading, but at this point, right, you would have done some reading on the topic. So you should have some ideas. So maybe I went to the library, I went online, and after reading, I found out that the causes of land pollution in Jamaica are vendors, you know, especially the illegal vendors. I found out that, you know, taxi drivers. I found out that students, you know, while they're walking home from school, maybe I found out that vehicle mechanics, you know. And so I've created a little list now of areas that I can detail. You take any three of these, right? And remember, your suggestions would clearly be more precise than this one. This is like a rough brainstorm. You take any three of these and you express it in a complete sentence, primary school style, right? So if you look again, what are the causes of land pollution in Jamaica? You express that in a complete sentence and you might end up with something like this. Vendors, motorists, and citizens' lack of civic pride are the causes of land pollution in Jamaica, right? Now, I deliberately stated it this way, but you could reverse the sentence. You could say the causes of land pollution in Jamaica are vendors, motorists, and citizens' lack of civic pride. Now, the deliberate use of citizens' lack of civic pride here is just to indicate to you that you do not need to have the subpoints expressed in single words. A subpoint can be expressed in a short phrase. So notice vendors, one word, motorists, one word, but citizens' lack of civic pride. And this was deliberate because some students, again, learn things that are not taught. They assume in their heads that each point must be expressed in a single word. No, this is a very basic thesis statement. Students who are more inclined and with greater vocabulary can, you know, phrase it in a way which is a little bit more fancy. But you see, students, at the end of the day, you want to be safe. And if you are not yet very advanced with the English language, nothing is wrong with being safe. So I mentioned earlier that the thesis must have a context. My context is here, Jamaica. We're talking about Jamaica, right? This is a place we're writing about. That's your context. The issue, land pollution. All right. My population is kind of, it's suggested there. If we're talking about Jamaica and land pollution, we know it's among Jamaicans. So that's evident. All topics will not have you naming, all right? My subpoints, vendors, motorists, and citizens' lack of civic pride. Where did the subpoints come from? The subpoints came from this word, right? Came from this word. And so it depends on the word that you have in your topic. You might have effects, you might have impacts, you might have ways in which, right? You might have problems associated with, you might have the correlation between, you might have the advantages of. And so these are usually words that are introduced in topics to narrow the topics. So I'm looking at causes, I need to give 3 causes. If you have effects, you need to give 3 effects. If you have problems associated with, you need to give 3 problems. All right, so we use these words to help you now to come up with the subpoints. So these are the three causes that I will be addressing now in my body paragraph. All right, so let me repeat some key points. The thesis statement is one sentence, which is the last sentence of your introduction. I didn't say that. Let me say that part. The thesis statement should be the last sentence of your introduction, and it should contain your subpoints that you will discuss in the body. And because of the word limit that you have, we normally suggest only 3 points. We normally suggest only 3 points. Make a note of that, all right? Now, the same order that the points are in the thesis, that is the same order that you should discuss them in the body. The same order. So I have vendors first. So it means my first body paragraph will be discussing vendors and how they add to land pollution. My second point is motorists. It means that my second body paragraph will be discussing how motorists contribute to land pollution in Jamaica. My final point, citizens' lack of civic pride, I will be explaining in my final body paragraph how the citizens' lack of pride leads to land pollution in Jamaica. And there's a little trick there that if you're not listening carefully, you would have missed it, so I'm going to repeat. What I've told my students, and it works like a charm, some of you, you don't know how to really structure your paragraph. So I'm going to say this and I want you to write it. You see there are body paragraphs, which is what we're going to next. Body paragraphs are supposed to answer the questions how and why. Actually make a note of that. We're going to come back to it. Body paragraphs answer the questions of how and why. Right? I'm going to show you how to arrive at that thing too. So remember, the thesis statement should have the subpoints that will be discussed in the body, and the same order that you have the subpoints in the thesis, same order you should follow to develop the points in the body. The issue now though is this. Always put the subpoints in an order that they relate to each other, right? Always put them in the order in which they relate to each other, right? All right, let me just check for my signal now. My teaching spirit is telling me that the internet may have messed me up. Are you still hearing me?
First, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, good stuff.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you.
we're hearing you.
Right, so same order that you have them in the thesis, same order you discuss in the body, but put them in a way that they relate to each other. So what I mean is, when I'm writing or when I was doing my research, maybe I found out that the vendors are the ones who sell different items to the motorists, like the taxi drivers, and then they throw these things out on the road when they're in traffic or, you know, when they're traversing the different thoroughfares, right? So because of that, I'm going to discuss the vendors first, then the motorists, you know? So look at your essay and rethink the order of your points, because in the body now, we want to see some connection between and among the points. This is where the transitional words and phrases begin to work, you know, because you can now establish some links between what the vendors do and what the motorists do. So that's a thesis statement in a nutshell. Key things to remember: it should be one sentence, not a question. It should not be loaded with any emotions. It should be at the end of the introduction, and it should contain the 3 points that we will discuss in the body. So recapping now, we just discussed the introduction, which is the first part of the outline. We said that the introduction has 3 parts: the attention grabber, the background, which is also called the transition, and the thesis statement. And I spent a little bit of time explaining the thesis statement to you. So your introduction for your outline should be fine, all right? And the introduction should not be broken down like this. Even though you see me with it here in ABC, the introduction should be a complete paragraph. So it shouldn't be outlined in Roman numerals. Introduction should just be exactly as it would look on the final essay, all right, in a normal paragraph. Where the numbering and the Roman numeral thing starts is here in the body paragraph, which is where we're going. The essay outline is one of the only assignments related to the essay where you get to label the parts. You label the parts. So when you're going to do your introduction, put the title introduction there, then you give the actual paragraph. All right, at the end, I'll show you a completed one. So put the word introduction, then you're going to write the actual introduction with the attention grabber, the background, and the thesis. Okay, so yours should look something like this. I don't have a sample introduction here, but when you're doing yours, make sure you put one there. So now we're going to the body. When you get to the body, label the thing body. You can underline if you like, you know, can just put it in bold if you like. How do you create a topic sentence? A topic.
So you're going in and out, not hearing anything now.
No, I'm not sure. It's just, I think there's probably a glitch on his side. Let me send him a WhatsApp message to tell him that we're not hearing him. Just give him a sec. We're not hearing you. Oh, I think his internet, you know, the internet thing, how it goes. Occasionally it does have issues. I'm hoping he's going to log back in. Any questions so far? And learn anything new, or just you have heard things that I've said to you before?
All right, I think I'm back.
You're back? Okay, good. I was
Zoom just ended. Zoom just ended and rebooted. I'm not sure what happened. All right, very sorry about that. We are now at the, yeah, all right. Sharing again. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes,
Not
sir.
yet. Yes, sir.
All right, so we're at the body. Let's hold the faith and try to get through this. So I was saying, for the body paragraphs now, you know, we start, of course, with a topic sentence. The topic sentence has the duty of establishing exactly what the paragraph is going to cover. Now, you would have learned in high school, I remember that pretty well, that one paragraph is supposed to cover one idea, right? One paragraph, one idea. In the expository essay, as I stated before, the first body paragraph should cover the first point of the thesis. So I want you to literally do this if you are inexperienced, especially. Go back to your thesis, look at your first point, vendors. Turn it into a question of how and why. How do vendors cause land pollution in Jamaica? Or why do vendors cause land pollution in Jamaica? Right? So I'm turning it into a question, matching it back with my focus word here. How do vendors cause land pollution in Jamaica? So if we do that, and you look at my topic sentence, you realize it makes it much easier. I end up with a sentence like this. Vendors in Jamaica contribute to land pollution through the illegal disposal of garbage generated from unauthorized vending zones. So what this does now is that it sets me up to explain what are these unauthorized vending zones and to give my audience or readers the details. What are some of these illegal things? What are some of these things that they dispose, and you know what actually happens for them to contribute to land pollution? A couple warnings about topic sentences. Topic sentences are not to come from references. All right. Now we are so trained that I'll be honest with you, once we see a topic sentence that is from a reference, we usually just skip that paragraph, because we know if you're following what I'm saying, the topic sentence is like a promise. It establishes exactly what that paragraph will discuss. And if the first sentence is from the reference, you're essentially telling me that everything in this paragraph is going to be about this reference, right? And it's really, you have not put any analysis, any of your own commentary, any of your own thinking into this thing. So, and that's not what we want you to do at this level. So you are giving us a free pass to not grade that paragraph. Write your own topic sentences from scratch. All right, write your own topic sentences from scratch. One thing that is missing from mine here is that usually we strongly encourage you to use a transitional word. So this is my first body paragraph. I could say firstly, right? Or to begin, you know, use a transitional word. All right, so let's talk labeling now, and maybe your lecturer we'll have some variation to this because some persons do, and that's fine. We usually use the Roman numeral, the capital looking ones, to identify topic sentences. So Roman numeral one that looks like capital I, would represent topic sentence one, right? Roman numeral one, the big one, would represent topic sentence one. And notice, this is why we call this thing a sentence outline now. One sentence per label. One sentence per label. And we don't ask that you actually write that down, because usually you get graded for organization of the outline as well. One sentence per label. Don't cram 2 sentences under each label. One sentence per label. So topic sentence, Roman numeral 1. Supporting sentences now are usually identified with letters of the alphabet. Letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, right? Letters of the alphabet, like you see I have here. So I explained to you that the topic sentence establishes what the paragraph will capture, and you are going to get that topic sentence from the points in the thesis. The sentences now which follow the topic sentence are called supporting sentences, and they really have 2 functions. They explain and provide examples or evidence to support whatever the topic sentence has pointed out. So the supporting sentences are to explain and provide evidence of whatever the topic sentence has established. Simple, right? So using my example here, my first supporting sentence, sentence A, says unauthorized vending zones in Jamaica are defined as any area outside of labeled markets. I didn't put a source or a reference for this one because it's commonly known, right? And we have things that are called general facts. If something is commonly known, you don't need to reference it. So for example, if you're writing an essay or a formal document and you say there are more females than males at the tertiary level, you don't need to reference it because that's known, right? It's not a global trend. However, if you're going to give specific statistics, like you're going to say there are 7 females to every male, then you need to source that because you're giving specific statistics, right? That's an aside. So I didn't have a reference for my first sentence there, the definition of the unauthorized vending zones, because it's known, right? But now I'm introducing a reference. According to the KSAC 2019, designated zones are usually labeled with a red sign stating vending zone, right? Now, you may be wondering, why do I have a little Roman numeral here? If you have written 1 sentence and you're sticking to my rule that you should have 1 sentence per letter, sometimes the devil tempts you to have 2 sentences, right? Yes, it's the devil. When you're tempted to have that second sentence, because you just need to say another little thing, go into a new line, indent, and then you use the little Roman numeral. So what this little Roman numeral 1 here suggests is that this is a continuation of B, right? And if needs be, you could even have 2. But you don't want to do this. Let me tell you why. You're still doing an outline, and an outline is a skeleton. So you are only expected to give the key supporting points that you will put in the final essay. So this is not all the sentences that will make up my paragraph, right? When I'm ready to move from the outline to the actual essay. So keep that in mind as well. The outline is a skeleton of the actual essay, so you don't need to put every single thing. But here's a secret. If you put more details in the outline, it's easier to make the essay, right? And I'm one of those very fair teachers who will tell students, if you're struggling to make the outline, go ahead and write out the paragraphs, then break it back down in the outline format. Yep, I'm very open about that. Because some students, the way that they create a skeleton is they have to remove the skin and bones. They can't go from skeleton up, right? Because they have learned it to just write freely, and it's actually completely okay because some students, they get to the final product in different ways, but you have to do a graded outline. So if that's your format and that's your method, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So another thing that students normally assume is
Sir, I
not-
didn't hear anything else after is.
Yeah, I think he's probably having some connectivity issue. Let's give him a moment to come back in. Let's give him a moment to come back in. Okay. All right, so just to repeat until he comes back. So he does mention, for example, that A is a definition, and as a result, it provides some amount of context for the paper, and if it is a known fact, you don't need to cite it. The other thing is, well, kind of just saying what I...
Oh boy, oh boy. All right.
You're
Flow
back
is
again.
not flowing. Yes, flow is not flowing.
No, I think you should be
Apologies.
using flow. You need you need a different one, man. Try it yourself.
Yeah, flow is not flowing at all. And it's funny because it was quite fine for, classes. All right. So I was saying to you, what's the last thing you heard, please? Let me try to catch up from there. I heard that gentleman was telling me the last
About the
thing I said.
skeleton.
Is.
About the
Yes, so-
skeleton. So
Right, thank you. So the outline is a skeleton. So you don't need to pack every single idea into the paragraphs. You can just give the key supporting ideas and give the key references that you'll use in those paragraphs. So for my basic example here, I only have one reference. You are usually expected to give at least one reference to support each body paragraph. All right, one reference at least one reference.
I think he's gone again. Flow is really not flowing. I tell them to give at least 2 for each topic sentence. I prefer for them to have 2. I think Naughty is out again. Flow is really not flowing. So for me, guys, I prefer 2 instead of 1 reference. And as you see here, he has A, B, C, D, E. And as was said too, that some persons are very good writers, and as a result, they know exactly what they want to talk about. I'm not sure if he has mentioned yet, because I've been in and out, in terms of that the supporting evidence should answer the how and or why of the topic sentence. So you're looking at each and making sure that each is supporting the topic sentence in a different way. So let's give him a moment to come back. I think flow is not flowing, and I don't want to be talking. I'll allow him to do his thing. Anything new? Hearing anything new, guys? Learning anything new?
sir, I'm learning. So I've grasped a lot more than earlier out in class. So I don't know if it's because it's a form of revision in our research. So
Could be,
Yes, sir.
could be. Yeah, and once you are learning, that's the intention. The intention is for you to learn. And as I said before, people will understand the topics at different intervals. He's sending me a WhatsApp message. No, he's trying rebooting, reloading again. I don't know what Notch is doing with Flow. Flow is the worst. I don't know if I would. Guys, don't use Flow. I don't like digital either, but trust me, they are far more consistent than Flow. So he's waiting on the reboot. Yes, I've delivered your message. If you get to the chance where you can show him your papers, please rush to do so. All right, so he can give you some amount of feedback. Yes, North, you're back.
And here I am again.
Yes.
Oh my Lord, this is terrible. I don't know what's happening because this is not the usual occurrence. All right, sharing screen again. Apologies, students. You know this online thing is. All right, are you seeing the screen again?
yes, sir.
Oh boy, oh boy. So I was saying, we usually ask that you give at least one reference, but Mr. Clark is saying that he told you two, and that's fine. Just remember, immediately after you have used the reference, you should make some comments on what the reference is saying. The comment should not just repeat what the reference has stated, connect whatever the reference has stated with your topic sentence. All right. And in the real sense of things, ask yourself, what does this idea that the reference has put forward has to do with what the topic sentence is pointing to, and write your response to that, all right, in a way that it connects the ideas. It shouldn't be vague and it should not be a general thing. All right. So try your best to connect the reference to whatever the topic sentence is defending. I'll just go ahead and read what I had here. So I gave key examples. Some key vending zones in Montego Bay are the Charles Gordon Market and the Fairview Complex. What does that mean? This is information coming from the reference. This means that there may not be any garbage disposal receptacles outside of these zones. And I've continued my analysis. Logically, vendors who peddle outside of these zones resort to dumping items along the street instead of in garbage receptacles. These items create a breeding ground for insects such as roaches, ants, rodents. So essentially, that would be the outline version of the paragraph, and that's how it should look on the page as well. If you do this correctly, you can simply remove the labels and the sentences should have some kind of flow. You would then have to just go in now and put in the examples, the conjunctions, the transitional words to end up with a complete paragraph. So that's the beauty of doing the essay outline. All right, that's what the outline body paragraph would look like. It starts with a topic sentence, which is identified by Roman numeral usually, and then that is followed by supporting sentences, which are identified by letters of the alphabet. If you need to continue a particular supporting idea, you use the little Roman numerals. All right, so it would look something like this on the page. And essentially, that is it for the body paragraph. So you would do this now for each point of the thesis. All right, you would do this for each point of the thesis. So just to ensure that you are understanding, when you get to topic sentence, to the second topic sentence, which label would you put beside it?
Roman numeral 2.
Roman numeral 2, right? This one that looks like two capital I's beside each other. So to continue the how and why thing, my second point in my thesis was motorists, right? So how or why do motorists contribute or cause land pollution in Jamaica? I might end up with a topic sentence like this. Secondly, when motorists decide to practice the bad habit of tossing garbage from their vehicles, they are adding to the level of land pollution in Jamaica, right? And you'll notice a trend. I repeat Jamaica in each of my topic sentences. Sorry, in each topic sentence, because I want my readers to remember the context that we are discussing these ideas in. All right, and of course, you would go and put in the supporting sentences. I want to just reiterate something quickly about referencing, even though I'm not teaching that today. Please remember, or if you missed that class, whatnot, there are three main ways of taking information from references, right? The newspaper articles, the websites, the journals, the textbooks. When you're going to put them in your essay, there are three things you can do. You can paraphrase the information, which means put it in your own words. But even though you're putting the information from the textbook, the newspaper, the website in your own words, it is not your idea. So you still give the name of the writer, or if the thing doesn't have a named human being, it may have an organization or a title, okay? So even though you're putting it in your own words in a paraphrase, always give credit still. You can also summarize. That's the second option for taking information from references. Summarize. And that one really just means you may have read a lot of information and you want to give a condensed version, right? You can do that as well. But still give credit to the original author. And the last resort, which most of you have made the first resort, is to quote. right? Actually quoting should be a last resort. Stop taking information word for word from references. When you do that, you're saying to your readers and to us, the markers, I really don't understand what this thing is saying either, but I found it, you try to digest it and figure it out. When you put it in your own words, it makes your writing stronger because it maintains the flow of the idea, and it also continues your style of writing. As teachers of English and markers, we know when something does not belong to you. So it's like, I like to tell my students, it's like driving in a car with someone who doesn't know how to, someone who's trying to drive a manual vehicle and they don't know how to change gears, so they keep jumping off the clutch. We know when we have gotten to a part of your assignment that really does not belong to you. Okay, so try not to quote this massive piece of the references. You really should only quote when something is very impactful, something is outstanding. It will actually change the veracity of the thing if you put it in your own words. But really, quoting should be a last resort. And just some key reminders for the APA 7th edition. You only really need the surname of the writer, the year of publication, and the page number. And we insist on the page number if you quote more so, right? So of course, you know how to find information online on the APA. So don't abuse it. Don't insult our intelligence either and, you know, just copy things and think we won't know. All right. It takes time to do it right, but take the time and do it right. All right, I'm going to pause again to give you a chance. Any questions? I know we've had.
Sorry, you want to repeat that last part, sir, about the reference, sir?
Yeah, I was just saying you should know how to find information online about how to use APA 7th edition, but try not to rely on quoting as your first option for taking information from references. It's actually a very lazy approach to writing. It takes a lot of time, but take the time and do the thing the right way, right? All right, any other questions before I move on? Are you clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. I actually don't like when students just always agree that they're clear, you know, because sometimes it's just automatic that you say yes. But if you're not clear, feel free to ask. I'm not a scary person, you know. All right, so now I'm
Sir,
just
you
going to
said the
show.
surname and the year. Sir Clark, you can help me with that kind of like circle.
Just give him a moment. I think somebody's probably talking to him in the background.
Students.
All right, what was the question?
He said, for the APA 7th edition, sir, you're required to give the surname, and I didn't catch the other two. If I'm not, if I'm sure, I think he said something about a year also.
Yes, you get the last name, the surname and the year, and if it's a direct quote, you put the page number or the paragraph number.
Thanks much, sir.
Okay, so let's see if he comes back in. I think something, you know, he's having connectivity issues. Let me contact him and see what's happening, okay?
Okay.
All right. I'm just tired of this thing. Very, very tired of this thing. Okay. Let me try to hurry up and show you a sample of what a completed outline looks like. Are you seeing this? Something about the gaming industry?
Yes, sir.
No? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Internet is terrible. At least you can show off on your friends from Western Jamaica and Montego Bay specifically that you have better internet in Kingston. All right, so I really don't know if you do a broad topic, narrow topic setup. I personally ask the students put the thesis at the top here, as well as put it at the end of the introduction. That's really from my marking and checking. But of course, you're going to put your introduction. I've already commented on this one for a specific group of students. So that's why these little bubbles are there. So introduction would look like that. You notice they have an attention grabber there. They're using a quote. So you see the quotation marks. And they have combined that quote with some statistics, right? And then they follow up now with the analysis thing I was telling you about. Needless to say, this significant amount of Chinese children, really should be number, who are active participants in online gaming has led to a panicking increase in the amount of time spent online. So they have attempted to analyze the graph, just like I told you, right? They're focusing on Chinese children getting involved in online gaming and, messing up their lives as a result. And that is followed now by a thesis. 3 impacts that the recent implementation of the RNIS regulation in China have on gamers are reduced gaming addiction, reduced exposure to unhealthy content, and player accountability. right? So they have their 3 points. Then they go into their body, label the body, like I told you, topic sentence, that is followed up by supporting sentences as well. References are there. There are some errors in the referencing here that I won't get into, but at least you see the general format of how the thing should look on the page. All right, is that clear to you so far?
Yes, sir.
All right, others? Other persons?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
So,
sir. Clear.
right. And of course, you follow up with your reference page done in APA. All right. Now, is he still here, Mr. Clark?
I am. I'm still here, Naughty. I don't know if you're gone again. Let's see what happens again, people. Clearly, he's having some serious internet issues.
My Lord, students, I have no excuses for this one at all. All right, I was asking, do you ask the students to do a conclusion for the outline?
Yes, I do.
All right. Students, I wanted to show you some sample conclusions, but instead I'm going to just copy and paste this little bit that I tend to tell my students. I'm going to put in red, or it's in full caps because it was copied that way, so don't be offended by that. But basically, I usually tell my students that a conclusion is essentially the total result of your discussion of the 3 points in your thesis or in the body. So it's almost like a mathematical equation. When you look at the 3 ideas that you've put forward in the body, what do they add up to? Right? And if you look at it that way, there's no way you can end up with just a 1-sentence conclusion. All right. So the conclusion should begin with a transitional word to tell that you're concluding, of course. To conclude, in conclusion, those are the popular ones. To end, you know, usually we get confused by students who say finally at their final body paragraph. So just ensure that it's clearly different from the conclusion. All right. So when you look at those 3 points, what are you saying should happen in this context, and who should actually take control of it? Warning, do not say general statements like government should. Government is made up of, you know, all 60 members of parliament. Which ministry are you saying should respond to this issue, depending on the type of issue? So I was looking at land pollution with my sample essay outline. I would probably speak to the Ministry of Health and maybe the Ministry of Tourism, as I said, and I would make a specific suggestion as to what I would want them to do to respond to the issue of land pollution in Montego Bay. All right. So give specific recommendations. Don't just say generic things. I know for many years, teachers have simply said for the conclusion, you should repeat the thesis. I'm going to add to it, repeat the thesis, but follow it up with what these 3 points lead to. So if I have three things causing land pollution, the vendors, the motorists, and citizens' lack of civic pride, What am I saying is the ultimate conclusion? What's the ultimate sum of this land pollution that is coming from these three entities? What is the issue that they present for Montego Bay, for Jamaica, whatever my context is? All right, is that clear for the conclusion?
Could you repeat that
Yes,
again?
sir.
Yeah, I was saying for the conclusion, look at all three issues in unison, three subtopics or subpoints from the thesis. What is it that they represent for the context? So I had vendors, motorists, citizens, lack of civic pride. What really am I saying is the ultimate issue, the bigger issue for Jamaica or for Montego Bay as it concerns land pollution? So maybe in my conclusion is where I will say something like the level of land pollution coming from vendors, motorists, and citizens who lack civic pride, right, threaten to reduce the value of the tourism product in Montego Bay. So you connect all three things. You don't just repeat the thesis. You make a connection to the larger issue that these three things may create. And then you go off into your recommendations. In the recommendations, say specific agencies, institutions. You don't need to name specific persons, but agencies, institutions, organizations who should respond to the issue. All right, and that should wrap up your outline. Remember, any reference you use in the outline should be on the reference page. All right, so apologies again for the connectivity issues. So it's over to you now in terms of your questions. I'll try to take as many as possible. Questions?
Good night, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Can you look at our sentence outline, please?
I will try because the connectivity is crazy, but I will definitely try.
All right, let me share screen fast then.
All right. Is while you're sharing, is there a particular part that you are concerned about?
Well, I mean, which part we were to take in tonight?
Yeah, I would prefer not to try to read everything at once right now. All right, let me do you a favor. One of the things I don't like that I'm seeing already is that you have a reference for every sentence in the body paragraphs. And if you remember what I said, it's as if it would suggest that all those sentences are from references and you have said nothing in relation to the references. So far you've only just lifted sentences from references. And for sentence B here, you have to, I don't like the fact that, oh Lord, sentences from references. Have you lost me again?
No, I'm listening, sir. I'm listening.
All right, good stuff. All right, let me browse through your introduction quickly, please. Let me see if I can give you some tips on that. Let me see how it sounds. All right, just let it stay right there. So reasons for training and development in the workplace. Is it in the Jamaican workplace? Are you looking at the Caribbean, or, you know, that could be more specific. So training and development.
I never really typed.
Right, so you could make it more specific. And because we could interpret it to be in specific job field as well. So, all right, training and development are a vital part of human resource development. The essence of having roles in development of the advancement of technology that increase competition. Wow, okay. First sentence is very wordy and it's not really saying anything specific in terms of where you're going, right? So let me see how you treated what Pathak has stated. Let me see how you have treated it. Training and development are not only seen to enhance employees for better job skills, but to prepare them for changes towards physically demanding jobs and even, so you see how odd that full stop is right there. You have not made any connections to what they reference as stated there. You've kind of just left the reference. But I don't like the reference either. It's very wordy and it's not helping the reader to understand where are we going with this talk on training and development. Right? What training are we talking about generally? So I can pick out that you're talking about human resource training of the employees right there. It's a training of senior management, it's a training of all employees, and that's why we really need a context in that topic. When a new machine is being brought up, it is being operated before going to the production level. So vagueness again, it's kind of vague. When a new machine, in what capacity? How did we get to machine from wherever? We've kind of jumped the gun now and gone into something else. So in your background, you need to tell us what brought this attention to training and development. Has there been, and is there a new demand? Like I can tell you off the bat, the labor market is now at a point where soft skills are becoming just as important as, I'm going to just use random terms, hardcore skills or academics. Yeah. So it's not just a degree that you get. You need to have soft skills like being able to collaborate, being able to communicate with people on different levels, being conscious of people's different sexualities and religious bases and all of these things. So those are the things that have really pushed this new thrust for people to go through constant training and development while on the job, to match the demands of the societal changes as well. So maybe you could have given some examples of those things to help us understand as readers why these reasons come about. Let me see your thesis now. Growth opportunities along with enhancement skills will elevate staff capabilities of their performance by increasing employee motivation, improving staff performance, and reducing employee turnover. Growth opportunities. So if I were to read this in a very deliberate way, it would sound as if you have more than 3 points. I can see at the end of that sentence that you have 3 points that could possibly be interpreted as the reasons for training and development, but it's not explicit. It's not really explicit. So I would rephrase that section there. Topic sentence, increasing employee motivation is one of the reasons for training and development in the workplace. And if we were to match that back with the thesis up there, it's kind of off. It's not very specifically connected. I think generally you need to go back through and just make your sentences more precise and make them related to each other. Finally, try not to put the reference at the end of all the sentences. The references can also start the sentences. So you can say, Donahue 2018 believes, Donahue 2018 suggests, Donahue 2018 states that, Donahue 2018 reported that, right? This style of catching it at the end there kind of suggests that you may just have done it randomly. And you don't want your teacher to think that at all, right? Those are some quick comments. I know I went kind of fast, but again, I'm hoping the recording will save you because of the limited time we have.
That's
right?
okay.
Any other specific questions for me?
Sorry, I want to look at the all right, it wouldn't make any sense to look at the conclusion.
Right. Right, but at least you have
so,
the transitional words. Remember to put the transitional words for the topic sentences as well.
Right. Thank you so much.
Let me see your reference page. You started the reference page? Okay, yes. All right, it's not a bad attempt. At least you have the indentation going on the italics. Be careful, the italics is not used for the same part of all references. So like if you use a journal, it is used for the name of the journal. But if you use a newspaper, it's used for the name of the newspaper.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so just check about that, please.
All right, thanks, sir. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, sir.
All right, we have 12 minutes. Who else wants to give it
Sir,
a go?
can I share my, can you have a look at my introduction?
No problem, that would be great. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed with this crazy internet thing. So go ahead. All right, it's taking a while to come up. I think maybe I'm seeing all right, seeing your introduction now. I can tell even before reading that this introduction is insufficient. Accidents can be prevented on a work site. Lord of Jesus, this thing is telling me internet connection again. Hearing me?
Yes,
Are you
sir.
hearing me?
Yes, sir. We're hearing you.
All right. All right. According to Snook 2019, 104,000 production days were lost due to work-related injuries. Where? We're talking Jamaica, we're talking the Caribbean, we're talking in America. Where? Oh, I actually want you to answer that one. Where is this reference talking about?
America, sir. So I can put it there, sir.
Are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm answering, sir. In America,
But where is
sir.
your topic addressing?
In America, this research was done.
No, where you have
America.
research question. All right. Yes, but is the essay about America?
Sir, is workplace safety, sir? You
We
said
wanted to
where I
delay.
got this.
Is
Sir,
essay
this
about America?
information was from a
Sir, you're
company in
basically
America,
asking
sir.
if it should be in America or in the Caribbean.
All
That's what
right.
you're
Is
asking.
anybody hearing me at all?
Yes, we're
Sir,
hearing
I'm
you,
still
I'm
sir.
seeing,
answering,
so it
sir.
means I'm still connected. You hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Sir. Sir, the paper is about workplace safety, sir. It wasn't a specific place that we were talking about, just workplace safety in general, sir. But that piece of information, sir, I can put where I got it from, sir, the source. Which country?
All right. I've actually switched over to my data plan on Digicel. Let's see. All right. So Rakisha.
Yes, sir. You hearing me now, sir?
Waiting for the screen to come back up. Let's hope this works.
Okay,
Right.
sir. Are you hearing
Are you
me
hearing
now?
me, Rakisha?
Yes, sir. I'm hearing you clearly.
McDonald, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. I'm hearing
Hello,
you clearly. You're not hearing me, sir?
McDonald, are you
Yes, sir. I'm
there?
here.
Yes, they're hearing you. Naughty, they're hearing you.
Is anybody hearing me?
We're hearing you.
Yes,
Just
sir.
We're
comment.
hearing you.
Just comment.
Hello?
Naughty, is something wrong with your audio because we're hearing
Are
you?
you hearing me, students?
Yes, sir. We're hearing you.
Hello, hello, hello.
Sir, but you go back go flow, sir, because the digital now work out.
I'm going to tell him via WhatsApp that we're hearing him.
Oh boy.
We are
right.
hearing you. Go ahead, comment.
All right. I'm seeing somebody else's screen that is okay. Wait. My bad. Right. Carla Buckle, I'm seeing her camera. I'm not sure why. Making some adjustments. All right. So back to McDonald. McDonald, are you there?
Yes, sir. Are you hearing me now,
Yes.
sir?
Hearing now.
Okay,
My Lord,
sir.
this is frustrating. So is the essay
I was-
about America?
So, sir, I was saying my essay, well, our essay, sir, is about workplace safety in general. And so,
As in across the entire world?
yes, sir.
All right, not good, not good. Don't write about workplace safety across the entire world because different countries have different standards and policies. For example, some countries face winter with snow, so they have different protocols and policies for construction, right? And management of work sites. Choose a country. Jamaica is very ripe for that because it's the only industry that really continued to boom throughout COVID anyway, or popular America. But you can't discuss a topic like this for the entire world. And if you're looking at the entire world, you can't use statistics for one country because one country obviously does not represent the entire world. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Then you
sir.
go workplace accidents cause physical and mental harm to employees while putting financial strain on employers. This one could do well with some statistics in terms of financial responsibilities that different employers have had to take on in maybe the past 5 years. If you insist on doing multiple countries, you'd have to give information from multiple countries, right? You
I'll
could also
narrow
just
it down, sir.
yeah, you could also just look at the Caribbean and then give examples from different Caribbean countries. So far, the introduction is too general, right? Workplace safety increases productivity and prevents accidents on work sites. I don't like that it is simply noting the obvious. We need more facts about accidents that have actually occurred. How many persons have lost their lives? How many have been physically damaged, or workplace safety includes the environment and all things that affects the employee's safety, health, and well-being. You see, the amazing thing about having somebody else read your writing is that you never see some things that you do. Look at all 3 sentences after the first sentence. You start them with the same word. This reminds me of that time when I was in primary school and the teacher said to me, stop starting all your sentences with the. So let me tell you what is going on here. If you do this where you have all your sentences in this format, you're essentially using the same sentence structure and your style becomes weak. At the tertiary level, aim to use different kinds of sentences. So use some simple sentences, use some compound, complex, use some complex, use some compound. You don't remember what those are, Google. Right, but use different sentences. All 3 of these sentences so far are the same structure and it's kind of boring and repetitive. Let me check out your thesis. There are several ways in which accidents can be prevented on a work site. These include, right, and that's a punctuation error there. These include providing adequate training for employees, adhering to safety protocols. Who should adhere to safety protocols? Workers, and maintaining equipment and tools on work site. Thesis is good. The 3 points are clear. I don't like when you start with there are several because it forces you usually into a sentence structure error. So avoid that there are several things. But the background is weak. It doesn't give us any specific information about why workplace safety is important to note, or it hasn't provided any facts to justify why people should pay attention to these 3 things. All right. Let me browse quickly at the first body paragraph while I'm here.
Sir, sir, it is missing what topic sentences,
Mr. Clark.
information.
Yes,
Mr. Clark.
Naughty, what's up?
Yes. Are you
Sir.
seeing this, Mr. Clark?
No,
I'm
sir.
seeing
May I
He's
cuss
not
on your
seeing
behalf,
it, sir.
Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark, may I cuss on your behalf, please?
Go ahead,
Sir.
sir, because you know they would have been well advanced. Most of them
First
are.
of all, I am seeing sentences here with first name initials for references. I'm seeing 2 sentences per label. I am seeing very general things that seem opinionated. An untrained employee is a danger to himself and other co-workers. Again, just noting the obvious. Employees are faced with hazardous tasks on work sites, which can lead to accidents. Yeah, just noting the obvious. You need to say more specific and precise things. I'm assuming these are just your rough points that you're going to work on.
Sir,
Right, McDonald?
sir, this is what I just started over, sir.
Oh, all right then. But I could tell just from looking at it without reading it that it was inadequate. So you must know that it really requires some work. All right, let me try to take one more, 2 minutes.
Yeah, and if you can spend additional minutes, no problems there, because we usually do consultation after. Not that I'm saying that you must.
you're
No,
going to do
I'm
the
not.
consultation.
No,
All right,
no.
let me go. Let's see.
Yes. I'm not cornering you, sir.
Yeah, let's see.
I
Let me
need to
try
go
to
and
take
watch
another
Netflix
one.
as well.
All right. Anybody else would like to share quickly while we have the internet signal? Don't be shy just because I kind of rough up McDonald a little bit. It's good that you get the rough up sometimes. So everybody is using the same style of catching the reference at the end of a sentence.
Though I've taught them integral and non-integral citation.
Yeah, but that's one of the ways to prevent a heart attack. It's an interesting topic. A topic like this can be global. A topic like this would not need a specific country because all humans are essentially the same in terms of the heart and how it functions. All right. But the first two, you would need a country. Please stop calling the country United States. It's actually the informal name. You start with using the full name and then put the acronym in brackets, and after that you can use the acronym. All right, let me see. Heart attack is a lethal condition. It is one of the main causes of death worldwide. All right, I don't see. Buckle, when you are finished with this, please go on YouTube and just do a quick watch of sentence boundary errors. Sentence boundary errors. You have a little issue with comma splice so far. So just do that for yourself. It's nothing to be embarrassed about or whatever. It's a part of one of the issues we have as Creole speakers. We tend to just put two sentences in one and separate with a comma, like you have with the first sentence here.
Okay,
if you have a sentence like this, it is one of the main causes of death worldwide. Follow up with statistics. Give us some numbers. And I want to say to everybody, try your best to stop using according to. It is old and it's a waste of words. So instead of saying according to, you can just say the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state or states, suggests, points out, you know, it's a little bit more modern. All right, so a heart attack occurs every 40 seconds and oh, I didn't see that, my bad. You're right. If you really are strapped for words, like when you get to the final essay, you can actually remove this first sentence and just use the CDC sentence as your attention grabber, because it's actually as efficient as the first one. If you put CDC at the beginning of a sentence, you could just put 2021 in brackets beside it at the beginning. You don't need to put at the end again. So you could just say the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention 2021 states that, and you know, you don't need to put at the end again. Health education plays a critical role. All right, so you have the missing analysis where you are to remember to comment on the grabber, whatever the grabber is. So you've given this huge number of people who die from heart disease. Now you need to say something about that. Maybe you could say, it is possible that many of these persons could still be alive if they had considered the many ways to reduce a heart attack or something like that, you know, just to make some connection to it. Health education plays a critical role in combating this dreaded disease. The primary function of health education is to inform people about healthy lifestyles and behaviors that can help them avoid various diseases. All right. Remember too, whenever you use a reference, you should say something after the reference. So you will need a little sentence between this one and the thesis. Maintaining a healthy body weight, quitting smoking, and limiting alcohol intake are some ways to avoid a heart attack. Clear thesis, clear 3 points as well, safe topic. The topic sentence is kind of basic. I'm always kind of cornered when I see topic sentences like these because they do what they're supposed to do, but they're so basic, you know, maintaining a healthy body weight. So how you could make it a little bit more impressive, you could say maintaining and give the specific percentage. I think usually there's a percentage or something like that, or maintaining a healthy, what's it called again? BMI, body mass index. I don't know. You could make it more precise, but it does what it's supposed to do. You know, it's simple, but we can't attack it because it does what it's supposed to do. All right, let me see the supporting sentences for this one. All right, take out the personal pronoun, the your body thing, you know, the body, because you're writing formally, so the body. All right. Sadly, after you have the clear topic sentence there, you have mentioned some issues which are not clearly connected. And again, the reference thing, which is just hanging on at the end, we don't know. You're basically suggesting that everything under A is from this reference. When you get to the actual essay, not just the outline, remember to put in the specifics. Like this one would require the body mass index thing. I know that part, you know, height to weight ratio thing and exercising. It is challenging to lose weight, but if men and women commit to losing 10% of their body weight and sustain that over time, it can have a large impact on overall risk factors. So you see how this topic, this sentence sounds from Lawler 2019. I would prefer if a topic sentence sounded something like this with greater specifics in terms of the percentage. This is what I meant. But if it's really from the source, then don't bother messing with it. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Want to see the right?
Is that it? This is all you have so far?
No, sir.
Scroll down. Is there anything else on this one? Adding more fruits and vegetables. All right. Yeah. Give some specific examples, fruits and vegetables. All right. Definitely not going to support this topic sentence. That quitting smoking is another way to prevent a heart attack. Give us something better than that, man. So quitting smoking reduces the amount of nicotine in the bloodstream, which therefore maintains healthy blood supply and prevents a heart attack. Give us a little bit more precision. I hate these oversimplified topic sentences because they're really just vague. And then you are forced to really think harder about what you're going to put in it. So this topic sentence needs to be more specific. All right. Remember to take the 2-sentence thing from the one label. When you get to the essay, you see even these little areas like where you would say chemicals in cigarettes cause the blood to thicken. Give specifics of the chemicals, the specific examples of chemicals which would cause the blood to thicken. Blockage from clots can lead to heart attack and sudden death. Give some specifics. The clots end up in the bloodstream where they travel to the heart, prevent blood from flowing, etc., etc. But don't go off into making it a heavy biology or medical lesson with the technical terms. All right. I believe you're writing for a general educated audience, which means if someone maybe with average science education picks up the piece, they should still be able to learn from it. All right. Yeah. I don't like these generic topic sentences though. But you guys have chosen a safe topic. So, you know, but a final thing that I observe is the overuse or over-reliance on CDC. Please vary your references. Vary your references. It is okay to find 2 references which are supporting the one idea. So don't just use CDC. You can find other medical sources as well, or nutrition-based sources. All right, that's it for you. Hope your references are okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, I'll take the last one. Anybody's going? All right, I see Bailey's trying to share and just waiting for the screen to, all right. Referencing is bad. I'm seeing first name initials already. But go up to the top, let me see the introduction, please. That's what this one is about. Go to the very beginning. Cybersecurity, roles of cybersecurity in a company. Oh my. What are the ways to improve cybersecurity in a company? Well, too general.
It's the first time seeing this paper.
Da-da-dee.
Because the general topic and the question are not the same. Oh, she just changed it now.
What are the roles to improve cybersecurity in a company? What are the roles to improve? I don't know if I should comment on this one because it seems like a serious work in progress. Some things are still being moved around. I don't think these are roles. What?
We are seeing even rough notes on the paper.
Yeah, I'm a little
I've never seen
confused.
this paper before.
I'm a little confused about how to help this person. Bailey, what's up?
Sir, I have been having issues as it relates to as you were saying, where the roles are concerned. I was saying to myself that I don't think that these are roles. I think these are ways in which you can improve cybersecurity. I have been saying this to myself and my group member over a period of time. But based on the fact that this was given to us and this was what we were working on, this is what we have come up with over time.
Mr. Clark, you may have to respond to this one. I'm still trying to
saying,
process a couple things.
Hold on, what was given to you? I gave you this narrow topic, or you chose?
No, sir, I'm saying that at the group, this was the topic that we have working on.
Right, but I'm saying, at what point did I'm seeing this paper for the first time. I've never commented on this paper.
Sir, this is the paper that Nikita has been sharing because Nikita and I are in same group.
This is not what she has shared. She never had the question. She never had the answer. She never had rough notes. She never had the thesis there. So it's not the same paper. None of those things were here. I can tell you because I would have said to remove them. So where is Nikita? Can she share what she shared with me?
Sir, I've been calling her and not getting through to her.
She's not in class tonight. I don't know what's happening. I've been trying to reach her from evening.
All right, the flu is going around, but I can tell you that this is not what was shared because this even have notes. It says, I think right here you should state the ways. So you can't ask somebody to look at your rough notes. This is very untidy.
No, sir, I was going, sir, this is what I was sitting down. All of what you're seeing is what
All right, hold on. Let me try to help you figure out something. Yeah, I agree with you that maybe the roles would not be the best word there for your focus, but maybe ways in which cybersecurity is used to improve the efficiency of some kind of profession. I do not like that it just says in a company. That is exceptionally vague because cybersecurity does different things in different places. So cybersecurity in the medical field, it actually does different things from cybersecurity in the bank, you know. And again, you don't have a context because all the world's countries do not have the same level of cybersecurity. So I would suggest that the group goes back to the drawing board and just clarify that aspect of it and therefore refine the thesis to follow. All right. It's not a difficult topic and it's not impossible, but you would really need to refine where you're going because if you don't have that part clear, everything else will fall apart. As I stated, the thesis is so important. And if it is not clearly defined and expressed, then everything will just fall apart in trying to follow it. All right. So really work with the group members to make some decisions and try to speak with each other calmly. It gets frustrating working with people, but you know, try not to let it get to you. Okay, Bailey?
Sir, it's I don't really have a problem working with Nikita, and she's a very good work partner. So I don't really have an issue with her.
Yeah,
but
no problem.
As
but
you said, as it relates to whether the rules are whatever it is, maybe we need to go back to the drawing board. I'll take that in consideration.
Yeah, and I see some weird repetition here, you know, the thesis, it's 2 sentences and there's some repetition. So I'm not sure this is what you meant to share as well. So just update the document and then speak with your lecturer afterwards.
Okay, sir.
All right. Unfortunately, I have to go. I'm trying to get somewhere before the curfew. So
All right,
any
Naughty, so
final questions that
what time
do
is
not
curfew?
include me looking at an outline?
What is what time is the curfew?
10 p.m. and it's now
Oh,
13
oh, yeah,
after
you have
9.
minutes. All right, so sincere thanks to you, Naughty, for sharing your knowledge with my students. I can tell that they really appreciate it. Hopefully you're able to do the same tomorrow.
We didn't agree on that tomorrow.
Yes.
We didn't agree on that
So
tomorrow.
sincere
Yeah,
thanks.
we talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and sincere thanks for sharing your ideas with the students. I'm sure they have learned additional stuff that I may not have mentioned, or they might have mentioned, but they missed it. All right, and I'm sure now that they are in a better position to improve the quality of their papers. Yeah, so thanks.
All right. Thank you to students for the opportunity to contribute to your learning. Apologies again for the connectivity issues. You know, we have no control over that, but I wish you all the best with your assignment. Continue to work hard and continue to, you know, it gets frustrating, this writing thing, but stick with it and, you know, just appreciate the fact that you are in the right place to learn. All right. And learning takes time. So don't be too hard on yourselves. Appreciate the progress as well. All right, take care.
Thanks, sir. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, have a good night. I'll see you. Remember to upload the first draft of your sentence outline so you can go now and make some additional changes to your paper. I'll try to ensure that I get the recording up before by tomorrow the latest, or Saturday. Sometimes when I take a long time to upload the papers is because I don't get the recording yet, and I don't remember seeing the recordings yet. The one that we did on Monday. Hopefully I get this one by tomorrow so I can upload it for you to just rewatch and again continue to improve your paper. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Sorry, sir. We're supposed to upload by Saturday, sir.
Yes, I gave you all of that information in a lecture. Please go to Turnitin. All of that information I covered in class. All right, so you can go and watch the recording or you ask the group members. All of that was covered in class. I said one person from the group must upload the paper must have your respective ID numbers and stuff like that. All right. Oh, Naughty should have ended the lecture. I need to tell him to log out. All right, so you can leave when you want.